Welcome, and thank you for joining our webinar series on artificial intelligence. Today's session is about data plus processes required for ROI. I would like to thank the international people on today's call for accommodating the time zone. We have a variety of industries, which is great. And for the consultants joining us today, I'm happy to work with your clients if they need something of this nature. My goal is for you to feel comfortable with this topic in your internal conversations. And what I'm trying to convince you is a process architecture is the missing multiplier in the AI ROI problem. So we've all seen the 70% failure, 90% failures. Regardless of the number, we're not getting the results we wanted. And the gap is if I don't know the how, I don't know what to do with the what, and I'm going to use how and what throughout this a lot. The fix is a process architecture either has to proceed or run parallel to any data activity you're doing. You combine them both and you'll get the ROI. So data architecture plus process architecture with personas, we're going to talk a little bit about personas. So here's the challenge. I see, and I've talked to a lot of companies that are spending a tremendous amount of time on cleaning or cleansing their data. But even with that, we're not getting the ROI. Now, there's a lot of reasons we're going to talk about, but one of the, probably the first one, the complaints I hear from the people involved in these efforts is the people that don't trust the AI tool is because they don't understand it, because they weren't involved in it. Just the specialists or IT people are cleaning data, but the users haven't been involved. And what's going on is we're cleansing all the data and we put it in an AI tool, data from ERP, CRM, MES, any enterprise source you have. And you're getting faster reports and analytics and dashboards, which is cool. And I don't want to downplay that, but that's not really powerful. That's not what we're expecting. So again, you're going to hear a recurring theme, data or the what and process or the how is the easiest way to make sure when we're in these conversations, they don't get confusing. When you're in these conversations, it's good to ask, are we talking about the what, the data, or how, the process? So data infrastructure fails without its process counterpart. There's two architectures, data architecture, process architecture, all going into the same ROI equation. And on the data side, we're answering, can we deliver data to these AI agents? On the process side, we're trying to explain, should the agents use this data and for what purpose? On the data side, we're building technical plumbing, pipelines, all the IT governance stuff. On the process side, we're looking at value streams, SIPOC or supplier, input, process, output, customer, tables, and relationships. The idea of key input variables or KIVs impact the process variable and impact the KOV or the output. Input variable, process variable, output variable. And more importantly, an understanding of the cause effect. There's a lot of people that just lump all these into KPIs or key performance indicators. But if we don't understand what makes that KPI go up or down, we can do better. So you hear things about data lakes, data warehouses, data hubs, data fabrics, same thing. Process lakes, process warehouses, process hubs, process fabrics. So what we're trying to look at then is the power is bringing them together. That's the key. So a data fabric that understands the process of how we do what we do to leverage the data of what we do. There's a multiplication effect. The failures are based on people just doing data architecture or data cleaning. And you get 15, 20% of the ROI. I mean, it's not a zero. But when you add the process architecture and then data, it'll significantly improve because now the agents are intelligent. We've trained them. And you put them both in parallel, and that's where you're going to start getting the 3 and 5x returns. So the insight is process architecture defines the requirements, the how, and data architecture implements them. Both of them need to be governed together. So data architecture, process architecture. Another comparison, data literacy, which you hear a lot of people talking about, versus process literacy. And what we're trying to do is to get people from just looking at the cleansed data reports and analytics and observing what's going on to strategic problem solvers, or call them solution providers or success planners, but people that can actually do something with it. So again, 2 literacies, 1 capability. Data literacy, again, the what. Can we read and analyze the data? Can we provide metrics and trends and assure data quality? And can we provide evidence conclusions for decisions? Maybe. And then we'll measure and get the analytics and dashboards. But the process literacy, the how, understands the SIPOC, the inputs and the process and the outputs, and mapping how they work together in strategic context about why metrics matter. And again, very critical, what to focus on. What are, and let's just use a key performance indicator or a KPI example. What makes that go up and down? What do I have to be? And here's an example. I was teaching this to a billion-dollar global manufacturing company, and I had all the CFOs in the room. And they wanted every plant manager to improve return on asset earned. But when I asked, what are the processes that help improve the return on asset earned, the room was kind of quiet. Now, we took a break, and afterwards we got through it. But the point to tell you that story is, the more people understand this is the result we're looking for, and these are the things that make it happen, the more critical. Or success mode and effect analysis. Now, put them both together, that's contextual intelligence. That's where we can trace it down to specific steps, give a closed loop, and get the ROI we're looking at. So again, there's an ROI differential. Just data literacy own. Again, we'll get some observers who can describe problems, but maybe not solve them. Kind of a baseline performance. You'll get higher analytics when you combine them both. And the other one that's a lot of concern about is autonomous decisions and who has the authority to make it. If you would put these both together with context and governance rules, you can do this, but never do this. You'll start to get the ROI you're looking for. All right, another one, logical data management versus logical process management. And what I mean by this is, we cleanse all the data, we have the data, but I have no context to act on it. So I put all the ERP, MES stuff and whatever you put into it, and it can give me some information, but again, it really doesn't know what to do with it. So 2 logical layers, 1 business reality. The data management is focusing on data entities and their relationships. Again, good stuff, been around for a long time. And the primary goal is what's referred to as unified semantic layer. And we're going to talk about semantics in a minute. That's consistent across all the systems, all good stuff. And we get relationship diagrams and models out of it. And it gives them, I don't know if it gives data meaning that much, but it'll make sure it's consistent. But the goal in this effort is a single source of truth. Again, all good. Standalone is not going to get you there. When you add logical process management, again, the SIPOC, the cause and effect, the business rules, the process logic, the governance rules, and you're trying to automate and orchestrate process using those rules, and creating a thing called an IPE pack, or Integrated Process Excellence Pack, and I'll talk more about that. The orientation is far beyond the data now. Now we're looking at execution flow, control logic, orchestration. And what we're getting is consistency and agility in all the business operations, but it's driven, and we're going to talk about personas in a minute, that brings it to life. So consider IPE the connective tissue, that the data knows is what the business knows. The process links data to process into decisions. Logical process management sits on both of those and describes how the business operates to get the ROI. Now, again, if we just have data management and no IPE packs, now we're just kind of giving people better dashboards and reports. So the sequencing matters, and there's a multiplicative ROI when you combine these two. Let's talk about semantic engines and building a better language. The heart of all the problems I've talked about is the lack of context, because raw data is rarely meaningful on its own. What AI needs is structured, contextualized, consistent data, of course, and information that reflects real business logic, processes, and terms, even the terminology. There was a person I was talking to in retail, and they were frustrated because I don't remember what enterprise software we were using, but their vocabulary was different than what the fields name were called from the data layer. So they're asking questions and getting incorrect answers. Semantic engines, therefore, they act as the foundational layer to bridge the gap between technical data structures and human, understandable business concepts. So again, I mean, aligning data process and standardizing on definitions and metrics across disparate systems to get a single source of truth, that's great. But aligning processes that use these standardized definitions to harmonize the workflows and actions, decision-making is the power. So let's compare again. The data semantic engine approaches on aligning data to business definitions using these semantic layers and creating the information to interpret what data means and how to relate it to the concepts. They align the data. In contrast, IPE aligns the process works upstream by aligning the process to strategic objectives, then designing the SIPOC models and the cause and effect models and the success analysis to create an inherent output of what's actually. So let's go back to the return on asset earned example. Clean data is great. I get a report that says return on asset earned went up. And everybody goes, yeah, great, it went up. But as soon as you ask, why did it go up, we start to fail because we don't understand the hierarchical processes that impact return on asset earned, or the opposite, either one. Return on asset earned went down, everybody's bummed out. Anybody know why it went down? So the fundamental difference is the semantic engine asks, how do we help agents understand the data we have? While IPE asks, how do we design process that the data agents can understand and leverage? So again, two different semantic strategies. To get the AI return on investment, we need structured contextual data, not just standardized data. So again, data alignment, the what? Raw data, data lakes, APIs, consistent, excellent. Technology, graphs, ontologies, data catalogs, extremely important. Outcomes, single source of truth, perfect. And the use case is like the manufacturer I gave an example of, they're just trying to get standardized data across all their divisions, business units for unified reporting. Compare that now to process alignment with IPE, or the how. IPE designs processes upstream so they naturally generate semantic data and the output. So APIs, workflows, SIPOC diagrams, and the outcome is context-aware execution. Intent is to directly to the operational action. And we're going to talk about personas, about how then I can present the same data to different groups. The upstream advantage. Data generated without strategic decision. Semantics is retrofitted, get rid of all the messy stuff. There's a lot of technical stuff, but I mean, some big companies are spending millions of dollars on cleaning data. But it's treating the symptoms, confusing data, not the root cause of misaligned process. So the result on the data cleansing is technical sophistication, but limited autonomous decision making, or at least limited controlled autonomous decision making, which again, why everyone's freaking out about governance and the risk and what everybody's doing, because we haven't taught it. Now, IPE aligns the process, aligns strategic objectives upstream to all the things below it that make it go up or down. Generate semantic layers by persona, and that's really cool. We're going to talk about that. And deliver infrastructure to well-designed processes, and it inherits data and process to become self-evident things. So the result is an optimal combination of both of them working together. So hopefully you're getting comfortable with this conversation about, are we talking about data or process? Data management, data literacy versus process management, process literacy. And hopefully you're getting comfortable not just with the terms, but different people, when they're talking about AI deployment, again, have different vocabulary, different viewpoints, and different focus. And I want you to feel comfortable with both of them. So all four of these subjects converge on the same conclusion. Data architecture, process architecture. Process drives the learning, large language model learning process. It educates the model. It gives it context. It gives it something to do. Where data, again, all cleansed and all that's good, fulfills the data response. They both have to mature together. Literacy, the what and the how combined gets you contextual intelligence, including governance rules, including decision-making capability. It gives a faster time to insight. Data management versus process management. Process management defines the strategic contents. Data then delivers trusted data to meet those precisely defined needs. And semantics, how do we define processes that data agents can inherently understand? IPE, just a quick view of it. It's a 6-step process. It was developed a long time ago with one of my customers and very, very valid back then. But why I'm so excited about how it applies to AI today is back then, all this information had to be put into a relational database. And to be blunt, people didn't want to do it. It was too much work. I now, in Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint, even pictures on grease boards, can define process maps, site-poc diagrams, process models, the cause and effect analysis, and feed that into a LLM with a bunch of templates to do that. Now, I've mentioned IPE packs. What are those? IPE packs is a systematic way to get self-contained knowledge that unifies all information, procedures, specs, quality criteria, historical data, process context that are required to execute specific business processes from end to end. So unlike traditional approaches where knowledge is scattered across department silos and disparate systems, an IPE pack brings it all together, from process maps and instructions to validation rules and AI prompts, into a single structured repository, process fabric, if you will, that serves as a definitive source of the truth. And the architecture ensures that anyone executing the process, whether human or AI, very important, whether human or AI, has instant access to complete context without searching through multiple systems, dramatically reducing cycle times, even decision times, eliminating inconsistencies, and enabling AI systems to deliver accurate outputs based on a comprehensive, validated knowledge, rather than, again, even though with clean data, incomplete fragments that lead to hallucinations or errors, or, as you've probably been reading, making bad decisions on their own with no governance or control. The here's the other thing that's very important. I mentioned about how difficult it was back in where we had to put into a relational database. Because we can create and document this information in a variety of file formats now, they're relatively easy to create. Now, again, I'm not talking about the old policies and procedures that are stuck in 3-ring binders that nobody ever reads during an audit, or if they're scattered across SharePoint, K drives, Google drives. I'm not talking about building a bunch of stuff that's, again, scattered. I'm talking about building specific knowledge packs that are used to train the learning model. Now let's talk about personas. This is probably one of the most powerful parts of the research and deployment we've been working on. If you just think of 3 levels in your company: executive, managers, and frontline employees. Again, they think differently and act differently because they're in different roles. The executives, they set the direction, they fund it. They're the ones looking for the ROI. Their goal is to maximize the ROI and reduce transformation failure risk. The process owners, their goal is to deploy it with measurable results. And that's where this understanding of, if you want return on asset earned, the output, what are the process variables that impact and what are the inputs to the process? This is where you create the packs and go through them all. And the practitioner or the frontline employee, primary goal is to do their job, execute process steps with quality and consistency. Now, keeping in mind those 3 levels, again, going back to who's in charge of what and what do we do. Every persona interacts with the same data chain and process chain, creating a unified, causally linked process intelligence system. So the practitioner is telling us what's going on, the managers are looking at the process and what's working, and the executives are looking at the results. So we input our KIVs, the machine settings, process parameters, quality checks, all the things going in the process, controls the conversion, and the KOVs capture the results. So again, that 6-step model that I showed you for IPE, again, has different levels. This 3-level hierarchy is very critical in when you're defining who's doing what and where. So creating a positive environment is led by the executives. The managers are defining the process and documenting the process and communicating it. And the frontline employees are measuring and control and looking at continuous improvement. Steps flow sequentially, yet all 6 interact continuously throughout the feedbacks that's built into the process deployment framework. Pain points by persona. Executives, all the projects are failing, they're not getting the ROI. There's no standard deployment model. There's lack of process governance visibility. The people in the middle, the managers, there's inconsistent process documents scattered across the world, again, in these 3-ring binders or in these K drives or Google drives, and they're unclear about the AI pathway. That's why they don't trust it. That's why they don't understand it. And the data isn't linked to business outcomes. It's just a bunch of stuff that used to be scattered that we put in somewhere that I can now access it all, but I really don't know what to do with it. And from the frontline people, there's no standard work procedures. It's just connected from the outcomes. And continuous improvement ideas kind of go unheard. And let me put this in perspective. I've been in a lot of facilities where they have their measurement boards in the various departments. I walk up to a lot of employees, frontline employees, the people that have these charts and metrics in their department. And I ask them, what does that mean to you? And the sad part is most people, I don't know, some guy comes out and updates those every week, but I really don't know what they're about. Now, after you put in integrated process excellence, the executives get a quality cost ROI model that brings quality cost to life. It has an AI governance framework that's aligned, and it complies with national AI policies, whether it's the European Union, VDA, the various documents out there. It provides the deployment framework for the managers. Now they have a very structured 6-step deployment playbook. They know exactly where they're at and what they're doing. And they know that the efforts that they're doing, that the things they're documenting are going to be fed in to the LLM. Now, this is important. They know that they're training the AI tool. They know that their effort and what they're telling it is how they're making the decisions and presenting the information. This is where we get trust, and this is where we get understandability. They trained it, they trust the results. And again, this causal architecture of inputs, process, and outputs brings it to life because they said that what it is. And for the frontline employees, they know what's going on. They have a success mode and effect analysis, an SMEA, that says our goal at the top level is return on asset earned. Now at the plant level, that impacts this. Now at your department, at your board, these are the specific things that make that go up or down. They get ownership, they get visibility to stuff that they understand, and they accept their accountability. Now, manage, remember this slide where we're taking a bunch of data and we're slapping it into a learning model? Imagine the IPE effort of executives, managers, and frontline that create the knowledge that is setting on top of the data. They trust it. They understand it. They created it. Now, this is a critical integrated process excellent takeaway. And it talks about persona interpretation engines. I'm hesitating because how powerful this is, and I want to make sure I explain it correctly. It allows the AI tools to understand who is asking the question. And they know, because we talked about the visions, beliefs, and departmental issues and what they're focused on and what they do. We know how they see the world and what information they need to perform their role, specifically their role. So instead of giving a one-size-fits-all answer, the engine interprets the user's persona. Are you an operator? Are you a supervisor? Are you an engineer? Are you in quality? Are you in finance? Are you in HR? And it adapts the model's reasoning to match that persona's priorities, their vocabulary. Engineering calls it this, but we call it that. Finance calls it this, but we call it that. The KPIs, the time horizon, decision authority, all is part of the model. And this prevents from giving an engineer a high-level business summary, or from giving an operator an overly technical response, or from giving executives floor-level detail that they, be honest, don't really care about. It ensures that every answer is situationally appropriate, operationally realistic, and aligned with the person's actual constraints. This concept of a persona interpretation engine also resolves cross-functional ambiguity by interpreting questions through multiple perspectives when needed, and exposing conflicting assumptions and insights. The engine is essential. It grounds the LLM in real behavior of the organization, enabling role-aware diagnostics, targeted, specific communication, and recommendations that respect the process ownership. How do I escalate it? The functional responses. And I get excited about it because, in short, the persona interpretation engine turns the LLM into a multi-lens reasoning system that doesn't just understand the question, but the perspectives behind the question. There's a lot of material if you'd like to learn more. There's a bunch on LinkedIn. Happy to go through that with you. There's a bunch on YouTube that go through a lot of detail on all of this. And all the books that I referenced are available on Amazon. If you'd like to take the next step, I'd encourage you to take a look at the books. Or if you'd like some help, I do executive briefings, one-day seminars, 4-day workshops, long-term deployment management, and provide technical deployment resources. We have time for some questions. Let's see if we got any. The first question, does this apply to healthcare? And the answer is yes. The beauty of what I'm describing is really industry agnostic because everybody has processes. Healthcare, retail, energy, financial services, we all have processes and it all applies. I'm going to paraphrase the next question. Do you have example IPE packs? And the answer is yes. By industry, by role, by group that you're looking at, and I'm happy to share those. It looks like we have one more. Can you do a private session for my company on the same subject? And the answer is yes. Please reach out to me. My email is on the slide decks, johncachat@ipeservices.com. Thank you so much for attending, and hopefully you'll register for the upcoming webinars. Have a good day.